I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're exploring an important book. It is called Saying Thanks and Beyond. Is saying thank you enough? It's written by a great author. His name is Ralph Mosgrove. And this inspiring book delves into how simple acts of kindness and gratitude can be much more meaningful and impactful. Join us as we discuss Ralph's journey and insights on transforming thankfulness into profound connections. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Books to Life Marketing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Ralph, great to see you here today on Spotlight. Thanks for joining
Thank you.
us.
Good to be here too. Thank you.
Great to have you on the show. What made you write a book about saying thanks and gratitude and kind deeds?
Well, it started out with my wife, who was working at her assisted living facility as a receptionist, and she fell handing out newspapers to the residents and broke her hip and smashed her back vertebra, two vertebrae in her back. And as a result of that, she had to use a walker to stabilize herself wherever she went. And I would go with her and ready to open the door for buildings, but many times people would step in front of us, open the door for her, and let her go in ahead of them. And then I'd follow along behind. And so when she passed away in 2015, she would say to me, "What more can I say than thank you? Because it seems so trite for the kind things these people do for me." I said, "Well, add a little phrase like, say, I'm so glad you came along when you did," or "your timing is just right," or some phrase that will help them to recognize that you appreciate what they're doing. It's not just a thank you and hello and goodbye. And so when she left to be from this world, I wrote the book saying a thank you to the world for those people who step up and allow somebody else to come into their life, and for a moment they set their life on hold while they help this person get through a door or whatever the occasion might be.
Wonderful. I also love the fact that it's a tribute to your wife
Yes.
because she is the inspiration behind it, of course. You saw how wonderful people can be when they see you're in distress, when they see you need help. I mean, it really brings out the best in people, don't you think?
Yes, I think it does too. Yes. And sometimes we don't recognize them adequately. We just say thanks and you go on. I mean, I open the door for a lot of people, and sometimes they never say anything.
Right.
Sometimes they'll just say thank you and go on, and we part our ways, and there's no more to it. But by giving a little phrase, ties them to each other for a moment, where you help them smile or receive the blessing that you're giving them by saying something that encourages them.
Exactly, exactly. So tell us a little bit more about your book. What will the folks at home find when they open up the covers and read your book?
Right. Well, it tells the story of her, and there's episodes that I've explained, but I go through the fact that people have to speak up when they have an opportunity to say thank you to somebody, and be aware that that message goes out not only to them, but they're going to pass that message on to somebody else because they were encouraged by what you said to them. And so it's important to say something when you go through the door and somebody helps you. You have an act of kindness that comes together. I give an illustration about Johnny, who was a little boy playing out in the meadow, and he was calling out to himself and just dancing around and having a lot of fun. And he heard a little boy answering him in the woods, and he said, "Come out and play with me." And the answer came back, "Come out and play with me." He said, "Who are you?" The answer came back, "Who are you?" And before long, he got a little bit irritated by the fact this little boy would not come out and play with him. So he went home and told his mother their little boy was cooperating. He was out there in the woods, but he wouldn't come out to play. She said, "No, Johnny, that's not a little boy in the woods. That's your echo." So whatever you say, your words have the power of life or death, and whatever you say is going to come back to you the same way you say it. Or an act of kindness or an act of meanness. Those will all come back to you in the same way you express it.
Exactly. So it's important to pay it forward. It's important to
That's
show
right.
gratitude, express gratitude,
That's right.
humility, appreciation. I think it's a great idea. And I love the idea of more than just saying, thank you so much, I appreciate it, but to say, you came along just at the right moment. You're really making my day today because I needed a
That's
hand
right.
and you came along. That's all great stuff. This must have been a great connection with you and your wife when you were writing the book. Tell us about the writing process.
Yes, I had not written a book per se, but I've written probably over 1,000 messages that I preach because I've been preaching since the 1975 when I went into the pastoral ministry. And it wasn't difficult for me to do the writing, but I didn't know exactly how it would be received in the publication world. So I went to some college courses through the University of South Florida for adult education, and I learned writing classes that taught me how to say what I had to say by showing it in words rather than just talking about it. And so as I took those classes, it helped me to know whether to write in the first or third person. I wasn't sure. And then it gave me the foundation for which to write the book, and enabled me to put it in the hands of a publisher.
Wonderful, wonderful. And tell us a little bit about your ministry. Are you still a pastor or are you still preaching?
Well, I am. I just resigned from my pastoral duties in March of this year. The 1st of March, I gave it up to another pastor that came in behind me that I had trained, and she's pastoring the church now. But the church has honored me with a pastor emeritus award, so I'm still involved with the church. I don't have the leadership that I gave to the pastor, but I'm still involved in Bible studies and music and things like that. So I'm very active.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tell us a little bit about your church. Is it there in St. Petersburg?
It's in St. Petersburg. It's a small little church, but we have a depressed neighborhood called the Lilman Church of the Nazarene, named for the area that we're in. And the Lilman area, it has a government grant to improve its quality of life for the resident. And
Mm.
so we have a lot of people that come to us that are destitute. They have no homes. I've helped 6 people get into mobile homes by actually purchasing the mobile home for them. And then they paid me back. They had the money to live on, but they couldn't find anybody to help them get into a mobile home. They didn't have the down payments for it. And so I've never lost a penny on it. They've all paid me back for what I did for them. And so they come with needs for jobs, interviews, or for transportation to the doctor, things like that. And so we have a ministry in our church that helps us do that for the people that are in the community. The new pastor, Sharon Barber, is a licensed clinical social worker. So she offers a lot of support for the people in the community, help them in their time of need, not only physically, but spiritually.
Yeah. I love the fact that you folks do more than just preach and talk about the Word of God, but
Yes,
you actually set the example by doing His work and
that's right.
by, actually being engaged in the community. I think there's a difference between talking about what we can do and actually doing it. And I
That's
think
right.
that's where you bridge the gap.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what my book was about. And not only saying it but with words, but doing something about it. And so these people that step forward are doing something that's positive. And when you encourage them, it encourages them to go out and do it again. And somebody will pick up on that on the next leg. And then so on, it passes on down the line, trustfully, hopefully to make a difference in the world.
Absolutely. Do you think your principles that you espouse in the book can be implemented in the workplace as well?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I worked in the workplace myself as even after I got out of the Navy. And every time you would have an opportunity to do something good for somebody, you would like to do it. The golden rule seems to apply here because what you want to do is when somebody does something good for you, you want to do something good for them. You want to do unto others as you would have others do unto you. So you step aside sometimes to let other people get ahead of you. You don't have to be at the head of the line all the time. You can let them get the sale before you get there.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, you've had two distinct lives in service. You were in the Navy, serving America and the world, and now
That's
you're serving your fellow man in the ministry. So that's been great. What do you think brought you to that point where you were chosen to live this life of service?
Yeah. When I was a child, my parents raised me in the church. At the age of 10, we had a vacation Bible school during the summer months, and I was just approaching the 5th grade. And I accepted the Lord into my life as a result of the vacation Bible school. The instructors and pastors that were there uh, presented that message to me, and I understood what they were saying, and I asked Christ to come into my life. And from that moment on, I've never wavered. I kept the faith throughout the years. There have been bumps in the road. Sometimes I have failed, but the Lord's always been there to help me, rescue me, and deliver me. And so as a result of that, when I got out of the Navy, I was praying about what I should do in my next career. When I could be a public school teacher in the music department or take on a church music job. But the Lord said, I want you to prepare for the pastoral ministry, which took me by surprise because I didn't have any theology training. I had my degree in music. And so I said, are you sure you want me to do that, Lord? He said, I'm calling you to do it. So I've finished my theology studies and entered the pastoral ministry in 75. It kept on from there until now. Currently, I play the organ for worship in Sunday mornings with the Salvation Army Church. And then I have my own worship service at 2:00 on Sunday afternoon. And then in the evening, I go to a retirement community and I play the organ for their Vespers service. So I'm a very busy Sunday, and all throughout the week, I've managed to keep myself as busy as I can. I just celebrated my 90th birthday on July the 17th.
Wow, wonderful. Well, happy birthday. You are 90 years young. You're inspirational because you're so clear-minded, you're so active, and your latest accomplishment, of course, is writing this wonderful book, Saying Thanks and Beyond, is Saying Thank You Enough. It's written by a wonderful author by the name of Ralph Mosgrove, and it is an inspiring book that delves into how simple acts of kindness and gratitude can be made more meaningful and more impactful. And Ralph, I'd like to thank you for writing this book, for your service in the ministry, and your service to the United States. I think it's all admirable, and it is much appreciated by the Crawford family and everybody in my community for sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thanks. I've enjoyed the interview, and I appreciate all the opportunity I have to share this with other people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ralph. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time until next time on Spotlight.